Well, peace and blessings and welcome and good evening. Welcome to a new exclusive edition of King Talk Tuesdays. I'm your host, Andy King, the show with real views, real news, and real talk. We're keeping it live in 25. King Talk Tuesday tonight is presenting the 4 on Millennial TV 24. So get ready for a dynamic conversation for 4 spiritual, more connected people than I ever known. And we got a few more that are going to be rolling over the next couple of weeks. Let me tell you something. We'll be discussing so many issues, whether it's in New York City, whether it's in the Boogie Down Bronx and the 5 boroughs, which is part of New York City, or we're going to be in New York State or the United States. But we're going to give all kind of conversation, information, whether it's about spirituality, economics, and we talk about healthcare, we're talking about, and more important, empowering so many of us in the city of New York. We just want to give a wake-up call of all the issues that are happening here in the city of New York and beyond in 2025. So we want to let you know that King Talk Tuesdays, and you can catch the 4 covering every other Tuesday here on Millennial TV News 24, as well as Roku TV, Amazon Prime, Horizon Satellite, Apple TV. We also are airing on Optimal Channel 70 and Fios Channel 2136. But you know what I always say, right? People pay attention to people who participate. So you got to tell a friend, you got to tell a neighbor, and you just got to tell the world that King Talk Tuesday, the 4 is kicking off tonight on January 7th here on Millennial 24. So with that being said, I just want to encourage you, if you want to send a message, send a note, you can hit us on our YouTube or our Facebook page to know what's going on. Give us a thought for topics you want us to discuss. Because we fired up for 25. I tell you, we're going to keep it live. We're going to light up the house today in 25, just let you know. So be ready. So I just want to let you know, I am so grateful, and I got to introduce the guests that are here that we're kicking off this year with all this great energy and just talking about some truths and shine a light on it. What do you say? Shine a light on it? We're going to shine a light on it. We're going to shine a light on it, okay? So let's introduce the 4 that's in the house tonight. This brother knows how to take information and make it cook. And his flow is just like his name. Welcome to King Talk to 4. Norman Seabrook.
My man, how you doing, brother?
Welcome, man. How you doing, man?
I'm blessed and highly favored. Happy new season to you, new year, and all that good stuff. God bless you, man.
We're looking for some great stuff and some good stuff. I told you his flow was like the sea. Told you that. Next, we want to just welcome, when it's time to talk about unity in the community, there's only one reporter who was second to none. Welcome to the 4. Sharon Pearson Hamilton. Hi, my sister.
Welcome, and welcome to the other panelists as well, and to everyone who's watching tonight. Buckle up, because it's going to be a very interesting show.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And last but not least, a district leader with wit, a man who understands the swagger in MAGA. I want to give it up. Let's welcome Dion DP Powell to the 4.
Thank you. I made it for the opposing opinion. You won't get anywhere else.
Well, thank you. This is a collaboration of minds coming together to talk about and be about it and share about it. So don't be scared. We're just going to keep it real. All right, we're going to keep it real. Let's do that. Well, let's just jump into it right quick, because we know the hour is going to go fast on us with all these bright minds that are sitting here tonight. So as someone who likes to drive, who does drive in the city of New York, as so many others New Yorkers do drive, just want to let you know that on Sunday, January 5th of 2025, this calendar year kicked off in the city of New York. Governor Kathy Hochul, state elected officials, city elected officials, transportation activists got their way with the start of imposing congestion pricing on any driver who drives south of 60th Street. A $9 charge on the peak hours from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. and then on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And proceeds are supposed to fund and complete transit projects in the city of New York and beyond. Also, there on the weekends, they're on peak hours, is a $2.25 charge. I got to talk to you, Brother Seabrook. Talk to us about your thoughts on congestion pricing.
Well, I think that congestion pricing is something that is certainly needed to raise funds to support the transportation system. However, I think that the way that they're doing it is wrong. Let me give you an example. I think that when you have individuals that constantly talk about the amount of people that fly in and out of New York and around the tri-state area. If you would just simply take and charge an additional 25 cents per bag that's being checked in at the airport, you could use that money to offset the costs of the transportation system in all of the states, because the federal government gives money to different states to use for transportation. I believe Buttigieg is in charge of transportation. Had the federal government turned around and said, okay, to JetBlue and Delta and all these other different people, that I'm going to charge an additional 25 cents per bag to offset the cost for congestion pricing, that would not be a burden of $9 on each and every person traveling south of 60th Street. Couple that with the fact that if the federal government was focused on that, and with full disclosure, I sent a letter to the federal government years ago suggesting this, and it's just like, forget about it. So why are the taxpayers continuing to pay for something that they can do that everybody participates in? When you fly into Dominican Republic or the islands or wherever, they charge you an entry fee into their country. We allow people to continue to use us, and they're using our services. But in order to better prepare the people of New York to ride the subways and the buses, it has to be uplifted. I understand that. But let's use the money the right way, as opposed to putting it on the back of those that are struggling as it is in this city and state.
You make a valid point. How do we make it fair? And congestion pricing is supposed to build, and then you say the state needs money. Sister Sharon, tell us a little bit about, when you talk about congestion pricing, do you think the way it's being delivered is fair to the everyday worker, or your thoughts?
Absolutely not. I understand the reason for congestion pricing, because it's not just about putting a levy on people who are traveling into the heart of Manhattan, which is congested anyway. But, I don't think enough thought has been put into the process, because what's going to happen to those drivers who then refuse to drive into the city of Manhattan? What's going to happen to those mom and pop stores, those businesses that are already trying to recover, yes, 3 or 4 years later from COVID, when the majority of people left Manhattan? Still, you have numerous people part-time working from home, part-time going into the office. So the full complement of workers hasn't returned to Manhattan. The other thing is, activists who are really lobbying for congestion pricing, the other branch of it is that not only do you have less cars coming into Manhattan, along with that, you have less congestion, less fumes. Fair enough. I understand that. But what about congestion pricing for the Cross Bronx, for the Bruckner? So there's some kind of hypocrisy going on here, but yet still the people who live below 60th Street are going to be bearing the brunt of that, because people are going to say, you know what, we're just not going to go into Manhattan. We can go to other states. We can go for whatever Manhattan has. We can get that anywhere. We can work from home. We don't have to go into Manhattan. And the third thing I wanted to say about congestion pricing, the idea came from my hometown, London, and initially implemented by the Czar of Transportation in London at the time. And I understand the environment. We need to think about the environment, but I think that it's going to be another tax on people who are already feeling the pinch. And I just don't think it's going to end well. I don't think the funds are going to be spent wisely in upgrading the infrastructure of the transportation system, because we've seen rises before, and were they improved? Is security improved on the subways? I don't think so. And not to forget the fourth point I wanted to make was those people who need to go into Manhattan for work, critical services, nurses, people. I read an article about someone who's in the Salvation Army, and he cannot lug his tuba or whatever machine on the subway. So the practical reasons that need to be.
You make a valid point, and I read a few op-eds in the Post and the Daily News, and and addressing the everyday strap handler who was on the train, who was saying, why isn't the MTA taking a look at their books and seeing where they have mismanaged money, if they've mismanaged money, and how can they look to cut costs? Because in government, when there is not enough money, what is the first thing the executives do? Take the agencies to look at your budgets and see where you can reduce. So why isn't the first thing you're talking about reducing? Because if you're talking about spending more money for building new projects and enhancing the system, again, as you mentioned, it's not the first time they've raised fares and then we don't see the good return. Dion is someone who travels via car and travels via public transportation. Talk to us a little bit more. How is this $9 increase and transitioning people out of cars into the subway system a good thing? Or is it?
You're about to put me to the corner. I wasn't ready for that. All right. Let's first one, politics is always money. The next thing is it would actually cause pollution above 60th Street in our communities in the Bronx, the Heights, and so forth. And one thing, they had time to actually think this through, as I may or may not recall, correct me if I'm wrong, this goes back to Bloomberg. And the next thing is, I agreed with former city council person, you may know him, Eric Aldrich, when he proposed, he's a Republican, out of the Democrats, a commuter tax. That means Westchester would have got hit, Long Island would have hit, Jersey would have been okay, and those people coming from those various realms, also Connecticut, I believe, would have got hit coming in. We could have did that way. The next thing is, we all know this money is going to be mismanaged. All the promises aren't going to be coming through. The subway fine will be inundated. They're talking about raising that from $2.90 to $3 a slice. And quite frankly, for people like me, it's the world's longest traveling shelter. So think about that.
And, I like that one. And funny you should say that. I was a former commissioner for the MTA board. So I know firsthand how this really works when you get down to the science in it. When you begin to peel back the layers on this onion, it stinks. Okay, it smells bad because they're allowing things to happen without getting people with boots on the ground to give them the advice on how to do it. And that's the scary part about it, because me, myself, let me give you an example. We were purchasing R162 train cars at one point, and everybody had to vote on it. And just on a separate note, people say, well, where's the mayor on this? And some people say, well, the state controls it, but the mayor has appointments to the commission on the board. So when we're going through this whole process, I asked them, do you have cameras installed on these train cars that we're purchasing? We'll install them later on. I said, that doesn't make any sense to me, that I'm going to now purchase something for you, then go back and have you charge me extra to do this. So I think that there's a lot of mismanagement going on here, mismanagement practices, that the people of the city and state are suffering, and they have no voice to say, hold on, we're not doing that. I'm a firm believer in making sure that we have what we need to be safe and to do what it is that we have to do. But Buttigieg in Washington, the federal government, has to step up their game and say, okay, what are we doing here? Let's get the transportation division. They said, you heard it on television, on the news, that millions and millions of people flew to and from during this holiday season. You know how much money that would be if we just charged 25 cents per bag that you put on the aircraft? They raise the fare anytime they want. They raise the bag fare anytime they want. So why not put a policy in place, and then people would say, well, how do you monitor it? Well, you get a receipt when you give them your bag, when they give you your bag, and you give it to them. So there is accountability as far as record keeping is concerned. So the stories about, well, we can't do this, we can't do that. No, they don't want to do it. They don't want the people to be able to breathe a little bit, if you will. That's just my opinion.
The question I would have to ask, why wouldn't you want somebody to breathe? We all claim to be New Yorkers, or people have jobs and say that they are there to do a job and be responsible. But it appears that, taking your analysis of the scenario, if I'm buying a train and then I got to buy a camera later on, whose cousin is getting paid? Somebody else is getting paid. That's what that's all about. That's what it sounds like to me. And this is where we really got to have the conversation, because the MTA, as the largest transportation system in the United States of America, has to be better. It can't always, New Yorkers can't be always fuel the burden of everything when it's time to increase or something. We know the federal government is a part of it. We know the state is a part of it. But when Kathy Hochul decided that they were going to pass this, and they held it back, and they implemented it again, and the state budget said, we're going to pass this, and they said a year and a half ago it was a $33 billion shortfall. Where's that money coming from? Oh, we'll get back to this. Your same answer. We'll get back to it. You know, you're signing something with no means of how to pay for it. One of the most responsible things you should have, and I say this as a former council member, we always assess the fiscal impact on any piece of legislation or anything that we have to apply. So why did they anyone can take it? Why do you think at this point in time that a fiscal impact didn't matter at this moment in time?
I guess it would be, for me, I guess it would be the people with the loudest voices, the people who are participating, because those are the people that are paid attention to. That's one of your sayings, right?
That's so true. Well, there's a lot of advocates. I got a council member, Robert Holden. He posted up on X the other day, and he put up a picture of, and it might have been about 10 folks that was in this image that was displayed. I call it for what it is. It was 9 Caucasians and 1 African American. But he was saying these folks are not New Yorkers, but yet they come to New York and determine how we're going to operate in New York. And I say it's interesting because there have been a lot of folks who've gotten positions who are not native New Yorkers, who changed the climate and the energy of how we operate, and then they're no longer to be seen after they get something moved. So, but you're a mover and shaker on the ground, Mr. DP. So talk to us a little bit, because if the shift is to go to more people not driving, because if people can't drive and you want them to take the trains, let's talk about what's going on in the trains.
Well, obviously, more shelters mean less homelessness. More affordable housing, we talked about for decades, equals less homelessness. But the homeless are in the subway system. So now that means obviously the shelter nonprofit game city budget is not working over there if they don't feel as though comfortable there. And then affordable housing is not working if the shelters are full. That's why migrants got to go. And this is when the MAGA kicks in, and I have to be evil. So basically, Buttigieg, he's gone. Now that Uncle Trump is there, that's going to be cleaned house. Number 2, we're in 2025. Guess what? City council, mayor, district attorney, it's time for election. We people got to stop drinking the blue poison, thinking the world's going to be a better place. Who goes up for election next year? They all got to go. And guess what? People, it's in the power of your hands. You did it on a federal level. You did it for Congress. You did it for POTUS. You got to do it local, because that's where it all happens.
Well, we're going to talk about local, because a lot of things that we do, I know for me, I'm a firm believer of the Most High in Christ. And a lot of these things are already ordained, and we don't control it anyway. We just play in the script. But either way, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back on the 4 presented by King Talk Tuesdays, right after this message from Israel United in Christ.
Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ bless. Scan that QR code that you will see on the screen, because guess what? We trying to push this truth toward the 4 corners of the earth. Let's push this truth toward the 4 corners of the earth, man. Stop playing games.
Make sure you subscribe to all our channels. We're pushing the truth.
Make sure you subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Stop playing games.
Welcome back to the 4 presented by King Talk Tuesdays on Millennial 24. I'm your host, Andy King, along with the great, I call him the chairman, Norman Seabrook, and the one who gets community in the unity in the community right here, Sister Sharon, talking it right and being right. And of course, if we're talking about swagger and MAGA, DP Dion Powell got the answer for us tonight. So before we went to break, we started talking about the transit system. I just want to read some things, because if we start talking about New York City crime and transit, woman on fire, strap hanger pushed in front of a number one train, people sleeping in subways, open drug use, teen and adult shootings, stabbings, and other forms of violence. However, Mayor Adams and Police Commissioner Tiss announced yesterday, that in 2024 concluded with overall crime down 3% in New York City. Now, I support men and women in blue and all the things that they have to do with all the challenges that they're trying to manage. But I need to know, I want to come back to you, Chairman. Talk to us a little bit about what is this messaging that they're giving to New Yorkers when they tell us that crime is down 3% from ending 2024 to what people are facing when they get on the subways or on the platforms?
I think that people are being hoodwinked. I'm going to use that word. It's like the mayor likes to say, perception. Well, you're sending us a very false perception here. If you remember correctly, and I'm old enough to remember that they used to have what was called the transit division of the NYPD.
Yes.
And then they merged them together. And everybody that didn't want to work in the subways came out of the subways, and whoever got stuck in the subway got stuck in the subway. They need to go back to basics. They need to say, okay, you 500,000 police officers that are coming out of the academy, your job is going to be in the transit system because you don't have enough seniority to be on the street yet. And then do it that way and give them an opportunity to be able to understand what they're faced with on the streets of New York City, because you're faced with that in the subway system of New York City. So I hope that the mayor or the police commissioner reevaluates how employees are scheduled and where they're scheduled to work, because I think that the police officer walking up and down the subway car gives a sense of comfort and a sense of security to the mother, the father, the children, the kids that are on the subway system that are not looking for any trouble, but the trouble seems to find them wherever they go. So that's my answer to that.
Sister Sharon, your thoughts?
I think also one of the main issues for me is taking out live people from the ticket boxes, the token boxes.
Okay.
Because if you have an issue on the subway and there's no policeman there, who do you go to? Because we saw that terrible story of the woman who was set ablaze. And everybody, the times we're living in, the first thing everybody reached for was their cell phone. And the woman was standing there. She was in shock. And it's just heartrending to think that humanity has sunk to that level, that you would see someone in that situation and not do anything. I mean, what have we become? But
what have we become, Beyond? What have we become as a society when we can literally watch crime around us and not intervene, or it turns into a TikTok moment, or it turns into a World Star moment, it turns into everything else other than how can I truly help you? Yeah.
Well, we're becoming a dependent society on the cell phone, which is our tool and weapon at the same time, in which it incorporates all that local and clickbait fame for individuals, and also puts a barrier of safety between individuals as well as being recorded, compared to when you were recording the cops when they're doing brutality, or if there's an incident. Everybody wants to mind their business, not doing liability. Now I'm what's called a solutionist. Shout out to Maj Toure for creating that term, in which I believe all this cure bonds money should follow Curtis Silva and the Guardian Angels example. Put all these great kids and reform whoever, let them walk the trains with their uniforms and be proactive instead of reactive. Because you already see all these people in the streets anyway. Oh, wow, somebody just got shot. Now we're all against, shootings and violence community, lights, camera, action, sometime bouncy house, music station band outside, free toys, free turkeys, free school supplies. And that's where I think that money should go.
That's really a powerful suggestion, because I was taught an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure.
This is true. This is true. But at the same time, I understand the camera, lights, camera, action. But it's lights, camera, action, but we're the same ones killing our own people in our own community. So wait, let me understand this. Right. You want to do lights, camera, action, everybody 10 toes down, but you want to shoot the guy that lives in the next building from you. And you want his mother to live in fear because she's scared to come outside now because you done killed her son. And then you want to make peace, and it doesn't work like that. We have to start as a community to uplift each other and stop pushing each other down. Stop kicking each other in the head when we're down. It's just like the guy that was killed in the correction facility up in Marcy. There is no reason for that. Unacceptable. I don't care what you tell me. I was the president of the correction officers unit, and I never tolerated that. I think that's disgraceful. I think they need to be arrested. I think that they need to be charged. I think it needs to send a very clear message that all people that wear the uniform are not bad people. Yeah, you got those 5, now you got them. Straighten out the problem that you have and stop making believe that this problem exists all over, because it doesn't. Yes, there are people that use force because these officers, a lot of them, police officers, correction officers, they want to be in the good old boy club. They got to go to the locker room after they did 8 hours. And when they get in that locker room with 25 guys that, going to say, oh, you didn't do the right thing. Wait a minute, you asking me to give up my pension? You asking me to sacrifice my wife, my children, my home, everything that I worked for so that you could kick this guy's butt? I'm not feeling that. So you know what? People have to stand up and tighten up.
Stand up and tighten up.
Absolutely. And it may not be the popular thing to do, but you have to deal with your own conscience.
Absolutely.
Somebody should have said, okay, guys, enough is enough. The man was already dead when they walked him out of that room. If you saw his feet, they were walking for him. And then they say he was dead the next day.
2 things to segue. Number one, that's why they say law enforcement should have the liability insurance, and which if one cop messes up, it affects everybody's little insurance policies that go up.
No,
We'll talk about the left side. Next thing is this. Let's segue into what I said earlier offline, where our attorney general, the black leadership, recusing herself from the entire situation. That way she can't be more hands-on to really get in the nitty-gritty. That's a great black leader, first black female, etc.
Yeah, but I have to say, when she's recusing herself because she's involved in a litigation with that group of facilities and those people right now. So as a lawyer, that's a conflict of interest. She can't do that. So at the end of the day, do I agree with everything that Sister James does? I don't know. I don't know everything that she's done, but I do know one thing. I do know that she is not wanting to sweep this under the rug. She definitely wants justice served for this incident that occurred. And I want to see it served too, because it sends a very bad message to those men and women that are doing the right thing. Not only the men and women that do the right thing, it sends a bad message to their families that do the right thing. Because they walk out of the house and the neighbor goes, isn't your husband the guy that killed that guy down the street? Come on, man. We got to do something different here. If we're going to do it, let's do it. If we're not going to do it, let's not even talk about it.
So what happens in the situation? Because I understand that at least 2 of the officers have resigned. So will there be any accountability?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can run, but you can't hide. You're going to get yours. And at the end of the day, look, they have a union. The union, and I represented correction officers, they're entitled to representation just like anybody else, to the fullest extent of the law. But at the same time, I don't have to like what you did. I'm responsible because I have a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that you get what you're supposed to have. I don't have to like it. But at the end of the day, what they did is wrong. And I don't feel no sorrow for them, because at the end of the day, if somebody kicked your kids, you know what? That same way, you'd have a problem with that.
Exactly. So what makes you think it's okay for them to do it?
Mr. Brooks should not have died. If you had a problem with him, take him off the bus, put him in the special housing unit, lock the door, it's over. But no, you want to make this bigger. So now look let me see you write that report. Write that report.
We're going to come back and talk a little bit more about books, but we are at a halftime right now, which the 4 is on a roll. Tony was spicing up, lighting the world on fire right now. So, but we got to take a break, and we're going to hear a few words from Millennium News 24, as well as Good Neighbors. And we thank everyone for tuning in to the first episode of The 4, presented by King Talk Tuesday. We'll be right back after this break.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Seaver.
Good Neighbors Community Outreach Agency provides programs that help community residents improve their lives and support their families. Are you in need of food, clothing, employment, or a home? We also provide immigration services and passport renewal.
Hi, I'm Pastor Glad.
And I'm Lady D.
We're here to serve you.
Need help? Ask us.
You can reach us by calling 718-652-3288 or visit us at gncdcny.org.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome back to The Four. I'm your host, Andy King, presented by King Talk Tuesdays with four dynamic minds. So we're keeping the fire hot because we're keeping it live in 25. So stay tuned every other Tuesday. The Four will be here talking about the issues that matter on so many different topics from New York City to New York State to the United States. We're just going to keep it real and keep it nice and keep it hot and keep it hard. But we just want to make sure that you tune in. And as I always say, people pay attention to people who participate. So tell a friend, tell a neighbor that King Talk Tuesdays is airing now. And remember that we air at 9 o'clock on Tuesdays as well on Optimal Channel 70, as well as Files Channel 2136. Well, one of the things that we're going to jump back into, I just want to give a brief message because during King Talk Tuesdays at halftime, I always want to offer some words of wisdom, love, and guidance that the Most High may impart on my spirit. But I ask us, as we begin this calendar year, forget New Year's resolutions. Have lifestyle changes. If you're treating yourself bad, treat yourself better. Don't talk about losing weight. Do the things that allow you to maintain a weight. If you're having issues with talking to your friends and your family, find a higher power to help you communicate more effectively with yourself. You can communicate effectively with others. If you don't know anything about love, and I'm not talking about lust, I'm talking about love that keeps you disciplined within yourself, being respectful to your neighbors, kind to your children, uplifting the people in your community around you, then you'll be in a better space, in a better place. And if it's not in your heart and you can't find it, pick up a book, find a scripture. For me, it's the Most High in Christ. And I tell you, and I always say, anytime I may walk in front of the Most High in Christ, I shall trip. And yes, we all shall trip and fall. Trust me, concrete hurts. So let him carry you through those times of trials and tribulations, because there's an ugly, mean old world out there to try to do it by yourself. And it's okay to ask for HELP, because that's what the good Lord asks. Count on him, weigh on him, and trust me, he will carry you through the great days, the sad days, and the better days that are ahead of us. So with that being said, let's jump back with the foe and talk some more about what's going on in the world today. So before we had to go to this break, we jumped in. We was talking about Robert Brooks, the ugliness. I saw the video. It was senseless. But it took me back to a place when we blacks, and we're still on an oppressive society. Don't want anybody to get confused because the calendar date changed. There's still systems in a place that are full of oppression of its people. Whether you're in America or in other parts of this globe, there are still societies that are full of oppression. So when I see a video like Brother Book getting beat down, I can only go back to the 1800s, go back to the 1700s. I said, wow, this is still going on. So it was a wake-up call for many blacks and elected officials. And I respect you as a union man. I'm a union man myself. But to all my union brothers and sisters, we love you. You know, we got to take care and we represent and protect our union members. But some of our members need to go.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. It's just like a teacher don't know how to be in the classroom. Then they go sell Amway because you don't need to be around no child.
Absolutely.
But you don't need nobody protecting them, because even though, as you said, you hear that two resign, but the minute the videos don't lie, no longer can we not believe our lying eyes, because the eyes aren't lying. When you see a gentleman laying down and 4 officers kicking, punching, and sticking him, beating down, there is no defense to come back and say, let's reevaluate, let's see how. No, first thing we're going to do, we're going to let you go. You can get your representatives, and then we figure out what's the next step. But you don't get the opportunity to kill somebody on camera, and then all of a sudden the system's trying to figure out itself, as opposed to them. Because if that was the regular Joe Schmo walking down the street, You better get yourself an 18B attorney. You'll find me some money. It wouldn't be none of that. It wouldn't be none of that. You'd be in the jail and nobody would be none the wise. And two, Tish James, I applaud you for stepping away and stepping back because of the situation that you were managing. But you did say we were not going to be part of that case at all because it wouldn't be right for us to defend them in the case. And I was reading, I said, I'm listening to this. I said, okay, I see you got something going that makes some sense. But then as the governor and now the weight of the governor can't get those people going like ASAP. And I'm just curious. Now I'm just saying because we're keeping it real. If that was a white inmate and for a black officer, what conversation would we be having? If it was a Latino man, I don't know.
I don't think we'd be having a different conversation at all because at the end of the day, they still deserve representation. When you have a union, you may put them on modified duty, you may suspend them, you may do a lot of things to them, but there are protections that go along with this. And you said something before. You said this reminds or goes back to the 1800s. The only difference in the 1800s is we got people in this century doing it that look like us.
Talk about it. Talk about it now.
Those are the things that have to change. Yep. We continuously make excuses for things when we need to step up our game. And this is what I don't understand. I did on my Instagram, and people could follow me on my Instagram at Norm Seabrook or TikTok or YouTube or whatever you want to follow me on, Facebook. But the whole key here, when you really start to peel this thing back and take a look at it, wait a minute. I said before that the federal government needs to come in and see what violations under the Constitution was violated and let the federal government pick up the discrimination charges against these individuals because it sends a very bad message to all of the men and women that put on that uniform every single day and save lives and go out here and do what they're supposed to do. It's just bad. It's got to change. But we have to do something more than just talk about it. We have to enforce it. We have to say, wait a minute, Joe, you're wrong. I'm not going to let you kick that kid in the head. You can't be afraid to say no, man.
Well, interesting that you say that because we're talking about NYPD. I don't know what the correctional officer's handbook say, but according to the NYPD's handbook, if one officer witnesses another officer engaging in behaviors that's in conflict of that book, they're supposed to intervene and stop it, but not condoning it being part. And I learned that when I went to the police academy, the civilian police command. I'm like, well, when a big guy got choked out in Staten Island, and the officers and the supervisors, nobody, they all were supposed to go down, not just one, because you all stood there and watched this guy go down.
Silence is being complicit.
The supervisor failed to supervise.
Right. Yeah.
That supervisor should have been suspended immediately for failing to tell him to stop.
Right.
But she didn't tell him to stop. And at the end of the day, this is the part that I don't understand. Everybody wants to keep kicking the can down the road. We're running out of road here.
Talk about it.
We're running out of road here.
And we're on the train tracks
I'm
right
sorry,
now.
Council member.
No, we're on the train tracks. No, you're absolutely right. And to the Gardner firm, may Big Eric rest in peace, and one love to you, Mama Gardner. I love his mom. Been a few places and spaces as she's been moving and growing and writing her book. And my granddaughter sat with her one day on a panel and was reading a book and pointed something out on the book, and everybody wasn't paying attention. And everybody looked at her and said, how did she notice that? She must have been about 9 at the time. I was like, what a big day, what up? So, but God bless her. And kudos to my granddaughter who is doing great work in her academics. Caitlin, we love you. So let's move on a little bit because time is moving on us. Housing in the city of New York. Now, I got to read this because Mayor Adams announced, and he celebrated today, surpassing the city's ambitious 24 and 24 plan to advance 24 affordable housing projects on public sites in 2024, ultimately creating or preserving over 13,000 units of housing, delivering on a key promise in Mayor Adams' 2024 State of the City address. The city advanced 26 projects across all 5 boroughs in 2024 as the city continues to face generational housing crisis and a 1.4% in rental vacancy rate. Today's announcement comes after the passage of the Mayor Adams City of Yes Housing Opportunity Plan, the most pro-housing zoning proposal in New York City history. The City of Yes proposal alone exceeds all housing created from rezoning during any mayoral administration in the last 50 years, including all 12 years of the Bloomberg administration and all 8 years of the de Blasio administration. I just got to ask, and I'm going to start with you, Sister Sharon. Is this good for New York City?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because number one, what's the quality of the housing that's being provided? What infrastructures are being put in place to deal with the influx of these people who are coming into communities that they're not a part of? So they're becoming the fifth wheel. They're not a part of the community, but they're in the community. So do you think they have a care for what the community is? Do they understand the community that they're coming into? And what has gone into place to create that haven in that community? You're a stranger. You're just interested in having a roof over your head. Where's the bodega? Where's the store? You don't care about the quality of food that's coming in. You don't care about the transportation that's being there. You just have a roof over your head. You're not invested in your home.
DP, talk to us. Housing in New York. You heard the mayor's toting the success or the future success. Your thoughts?
Well, you heard these beautiful people over here. They want the spreads to come in, and they are. The migrants got to go. Woo! Not problem. Just a little bit solved with that one. The next thing is this. We all know this game of affordable housing has been going forever. This city of a yes idea. I know at least 90% of community boards in New York City was like, no, they're not with it. And yet they forced it through. Again, the solution is what? You got to vote these people out and replace them with a new team from the different political party, in my opinion. And that'll take care of that. Now, we have all these abandoned office spaces and all these abandoned new buildings with no apartments sitting vacant. You got cooperatives like Concourse Village, when somebody moves out or dies, they just leave the apartment vacant. So we have to really utilize this. But again, back to the homelessness. Where's the gap that needs to be bridged between DHS and HUD and the housing operations to get these people that are in the shelters that have the mindset and the capabilities and education into these houses instead of old people from out of town? There are systems in place that need to be implemented, but again, we need new administrators that work for us. So we got to fire them and replace them when it's time to vote. And I encourage you to what? Run for office.
Brother Seabrook, talk to us a little bit now, because there has been conversation. I know when I was in the council, there's been some conversation of, is there really a housing crisis in the city of New York from native New Yorkers, or was one created by those in seats today?
I think that the YES program that the mayor and the council and everyone's talking about is just on paper. I don't think it really exists, because, you know, you're telling me you got all of these things done, but there's nobody building anything that makes me say, yeah, that's right. If you go to try to rent a studio apartment in Manhattan, it's $8,000 for a studio, $7,000. Where does the money come from for these people to live? You understand? Right. So you got billions of dollars that started out. It started out at $1 billion or $2 billion. Now to build a jail is $5 billion, $6 billion. So you would rather spend that money on building a jail than to take someone off the street. And I don't mean no disrespect, but that's a damn shame.
Right.
That you think that, you know what, you would rather leave a young man or a young woman, or the woman that was burnt to death on a subway because she had no place to go.
Right.
You would rather leave her there than try to do something for her. That's a shame. There's something wrong with this picture. And like brother down there said, he said, there needs to be a different group of people running for office these days, because the good old boy system is done. It's over with. It's time to turn the page. This is a new season that we're in. We have to get past that. We have to reinvent ourselves and do what it is that's necessary to be done.
Before we go to break, quickly, whoever wants to take this, the last housing question, do we think that the border issue has had effect on New York City housing?
Yes. Straight down.
Absolutely.
Well, now, we're not racist, are we?
Absolutely. It had an effect on it. It had an effect on it because that's what we're adding it to. Did it have an effect as far as the community is concerned? No, because these individuals that had come to this country illegally don't have the proper identification to rent an apartment. So they're not getting any apartments. The city of New York is supplying them with hotels downtown at $400, $500, $600 a night that they could be getting from somewhere else. Right. So the city's using our tax dollars, okay, to house these individuals there. And not all of them are bad.
Right.
I listen, those are my Boricua brothers and sisters. I love them. But at the end of the day, do it the right way.
Yes.
Because now you're cutting out somebody that deserves that, was ahead of the line.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem with that. All I'm suggesting is that, okay, you want to do it, do it. I get it, but you got to pay the cost now.
Right. Well, with that being said, we got to take our last break, as we'll get back and talk a little bit about something that's been the talk of the United States for the last couple of months. But we're going to take a look, because it's about the next generation. It's about our children. It's about a program that's doing decades of work. And we're going to be right back on the 4 after this word from the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program.
The Bronx Youth Empowerment Program, YEP, is a youth organization that has served the Northeast Bronx for 17 years. During our tenure, we have provided recreational and educational forums that have nurtured the growth of many youth in the community. YEP has also serviced hundreds of youngsters around New York City. YEP's target audience is youth from the age of 11 to 18, with the goal of helping youth become productive adults. YEP provides young people with resources to explore leadership skills, community involvement, and self-development. YEP consists of weekly and bi-weekly informational sessions with guest speakers from professional, political, and entertainment arenas. Also, as a part of community involvement, YEP will host trips to a variety of venues for educational and recreational experiences. As we continue to partner with other local organizations and serve our community, we will strive to unite and develop the youth in our community. The mission of the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program is building mind, body, and community.
And kudos and congratulations from the 4 to the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program, as they're celebrating and working through their 20th years of service to young people in the Bronx and beyond. Congratulations to you. Job well done by yours truly and my darling wife, Neva Shillingfoot King, who is the co-founders, and all the members and everyone who's been a part of helping us during those 20 years. I got to give a shout out to some of the unions like Local 371, Anthony Wells, who did a wonderful job in helping us with the Medicine Albany decades ago, and he's been a firm supporter. 1199, President George Gresham, who has been one of our hidden gems and make sure that the young people in the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program get access to opportunities. And a lot of the children in the Young Youth Empowerment Program are 1199 babies. They're members. And I just say to all the unions who have been a great help, the Mall Bay Plaza, Workman Circle, but more importantly, our guests right here, when COVID took the Youth Empowerment Program up to Playland for a day of fun and excitement with Dr. Bob Lee. I want to thank you again for that moment. It was really a great time for our young people. So we want to say thank you. But as we get into our last segment, we're going to talk a little fast. We're going to spit some fire, because we're going to talk about the redhead guy, the orange head guy right now. There's a new president-elect that will be coming into office on the 20th of January. His name is Donald J. Trump. I'm going to start with MAGA Man right here. You know, this when he said, one of the first things he said was that, hey, he doesn't support congestion pricing. What do you think his impact is going to be when he gets into office?
Well, we'll see what the federal government comes into play, because you guys said it best. The Fed should come in, take certain things over, and have a greater oversight influence. So again, people like Kash Patel, who you may have heard of, might be coming in to look at some of these elected officials and agencies again and make sure, you know, certain people get written up, as they say, and maybe more so. Some people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who used to be a part of the Superback, he might come in and say, you know what, this human services stuff is not working out with this. You know what, this is a humanity crisis here with this shelter system. And, you know, a lot of people got to go in certain places. But yes, these people that are coming in are not fooling around, as you already know and can tell. And there's going to be some changes. Actually, what's interesting is, hopefully he survives. His hand hasn't even touched the Bible yet. You can actually feel and see the changes already happening.
So true. Sister Sherman, talk to us a little bit. Your thoughts on the 47th president-elect.
You want to give just time to me?
Everything's going to be all right.
You know what? For my peace of mind, I don't watch the news anymore.
Okay.
Because what will be, and it doesn't make sense for me to raise my blood pressure. That doesn't mean that I'm not conscious of what's happening. And I know that people in my community, a lot who are immigrants, some who are not here, who are out of status, are almost to the point of suicide. That's how serious it is. So let me go back to.
I'm sorry anybody feels it, but I'm just going to offer a message to anybody who is struggling with that. I say to everyone, if you really want salvation for me, and I'm just asking, given what was given to me by a higher power, Jesus is your salvation. Man on earth is not your salvation. It wouldn't have been Kamala. It wouldn't have been Trump. It wasn't going to be Obama. It's not going to be Kennedy. It's not going to be Carter. It ain't going to be Ford. It ain't going to be Abraham Lincoln. It's going to be the Most High in Christ who's going to give you salvation. So get your priorities right. But you know, when we're in Rome, we got to do what we got to do to survive. But don't lose your mind as you try to stay in time. Right. Talk to us. Your thoughts.
My thoughts on what?
47.
President of the United States?
The president-elect. And where you think we're going is, we're going to see some good things happening, or it's going to be a absolute collapse, or, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts are it's going to be okay. My thought, and the reason why I say it's going to be okay is because we've got to turn the page. I know that some people are upset that Donald Trump is the president of the United States. And with full disclosure, in 2016, I supported him over Hillary Clinton.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm a union man.
Right.
I have to fight for my men and women. I have to fight for their rights, for their families' rights. I can't allow my personal feelings or who I voted for to sprinkle on what you're doing.
Right.
I have to stand up for the people that I represent who elected me. And I did that. And this past election, that man, listen, let me tell you something. That man went through hell.
Yes, he did. Yes,
I'm not, listen, I know what it feels like.
Yeah.
I know what it feels like. You understand? To get hit upside the head. But you know what? When you have perseverance, you're going to get through it. And people are looking, but you know what? And I don't take nothing from Vice President Kamala Harris. I was the first union leader, and you know this, to support Barack Obama outside of Illinois in the United States.
That's right.
The only one. And everybody else said, oh, I'm going to get killed. I was the first one to do Michael Bloomberg. They said, I'm going to get killed. George Pataki, all of these people.
Right. And
the reason why I say that is because we have to come together and make it work. When you go to the supermarket and you spend $150 and you got 2 bags, something's wrong here.
Exactly.
I don't care what you tell me. You don't have to like the man. You have to support the fact that he's trying. He says he's going to make it better. Give him a shot to make it better. Don't fight against it.
Right.
Give it a shot. Let's say, okay, look at gas prices. Look at oil prices. Look at rent. Look at the city. Look at the state. Look at these things that are going on in all these different places. And you know what? I don't want to use talking points, but damn, they're all Democratic places.
Yeah.
And it's wrong.
And black leadership. Let's not forget that one.
You know what? And at the end of the day, I think, in my opinion, that I support the president of the United States. And I'm hopeful that he's going to do a good job and get us where we need to be. Why do we have to worry about people sending goods from their country to our country? Don't we have enough qualified people here to build our own cars, to build our own infrastructure? You know, but you know what? We're going to have people go, oh, I can't do that. You know why I can't do that? You can't tell me that you're a Christian and you can't forgive. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me that. It's written all over it. You're a Christian man. You tell me where it says that you're supposed to hate that man.
That's right. If you
tell me where it is.
If you guys don't figure out a way to love this man, just let it go. Your hate will consume you.
That's what it's going to do. And every single day you're going to get up. Every day you're going to get up. Oh, Donald Trump. Oh, Donald Trump said this. But at the end of the day, tell me what Joe Biden did for our community.
Well, I know I had to monitor how far I drive in my car because gas was $4.50. I was like,
and council member, I don't mean to take up much time. Let me go one step further.
Donald Trump is triggering.
Let me go one step further. At the end of the day, we have to get our young people employed. What do I think we should do? Send them to the military. You want to kill somebody? You can go join the military.
2 years mandatory in Japan.
There you go. Well, you make a valid point.
Sister's upset with me. Go ahead. Let sister. Go ahead, sis.
Listen, we got about.
You know what? Very quickly, we know the ones who are going to be going to the military. They're going to be kids of color, because those who can afford to will buy their way out or develop Achilles heel.
Okay, so can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
So what? That their kids of color going to the military. They're getting an education. They're getting some training. They're getting some discipline.
To kill people?
Listen to me. We're in war. If we go to war, what are we going to do? Make believe it doesn't exist?
Who are we at war with right now?
Ukraine. Right now,
we're not at war with Israel. We're not at war with Ukraine.
No, we're not.
We're supporting the wars, and that's probably part of the problem why we're in such dire economic straits.
So then what should we do?
That which none of you have brought up.
So then what should we do?
Support Donald Trump, because Joe Biden is center of all that problem.
No, and I'm not being facetious here when I say this. We got the wars going on in all of these different countries. We got wars.
Yes.
We got wars going on.
Well, let's bring it down.
No,
well, let's as we get closer to that, I want to give each one of you.
Now it's heating up, people.
Well, yeah, it is heating up. And I listened to the president-elect earlier today and saying if they don't come to an agreement and get those hostages out, it's going to be a problem.
We have Americans over there.
Yeah,
those are people who are American.
And I ask everyone, and I say to us in the four as we conclude, and to our guests who are tuning in on this exciting first episode of the four. One of the things you can't argue if you're living in America, you can't argue with the conversation that we have to put America first. If you live in America, you can't argue with the conversation. And I urge all Democrats, Congress, and senators that are in Washington, you have a president. And your job is to work with the president. I wish the same kind of energy when President Barack Obama got into office, that everyone could figure out how to work. I wish Washington can figure out how to work. It's not about them and against us against them, Republicans against Democrats, conservatives, independents. At the end of the day, if the lights go off in the borough of the Bronx, it don't make a difference what your party is. Nobody has any lights. So how do we figure out, how do we move? Because our children are watching us.
Yes.
Our children are paying attention to us. And you wonder why our children are running amok? Because our adults are running amok. Our adults aren't being the leaders that they need to be in their households, in their neighbors, and in the community. So when we start talking about how we're going to move forward with number 47, that means it's about your interests, not about your feelings, because it's a fact that everyone has a feeling, but every feeling isn't a fact. So we got to make sure that we pull it in. And for true salvation, find yourself some scriptures and some discipline in the Most High in Christ, and then understand the world that you're in and live to protect and live and enjoy and embrace the neighbor and your family. I'm going to give you, you got 30 seconds. Give us some final words.
Let me say this to you in 30 seconds. You know, when you go through something in your life, you never know what winning means or victory means until you've failed.
That's right.
That's when you got to rebound. Right. That's when victory tastes so good. That's when winning tastes so good. You know how many African American and Latino leaders that I've called don't return my call? But they returned my call when I was sitting in that chair, when they needed something. So I'm telling you point blank, God's going to restore me.
There you go.
So you just need to know that when karma comes, baby, it's going to come knocking at your door.
No, there you go. Final words.
Wow. I think the word has to be, for me, love.
Love. I like that.
The word has to be love, really.
She said it best. DP, talk to us. 5 seconds.
If you don't like it, you better think before you vote.
I love it.
Shout out to Raheem Soto who came up with that.
Love it, love it, love it. We got to go. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with the 4, but I'll be back next Tuesday on King Talk Tuesday. And as we do with every show, we end every show with a scripture. Tonight's scripture reads from Mark 12:17. And Jesus answered, saying unto them, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar, and to God the things that are God's. And they marveled at him. If no one told you today, God loves you, so do I. Your friend, your brother, your neighbor. And the King and the 4. Let's do it. Come on.
I love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. I love y'all too. Ain't nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do about it.